You're listening to the Health and Happiness Podcast with Travis Kemper and
Lauryn Maxwell. Each episode, we share easy-to-implement strategies to improve your health, happiness, and overall quality of life. Run your own race at your own pace. Stop comparing and keep your eyes on your own journey. Unknown. So how's it going, Travis? It's been a little bit since I've gotten to talk to you.
Yeah, well, I actually got to see you last week for the first time in a long time.
Time.
Yeah, so that was nice. Unfortunately, we didn't get to do our live episode because, my time in Flagstaff was very limited.
Very brief.
The boys had their first game last night of the season. They beat the 6th ranked team in the state by 30 points. So that's good. Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations.
And we were something like 15th ranked. So we were not supposed to beat them, much less by 30.
Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. That's an even bigger deal.
Yeah. And we were on the road. They were all the way in Colorado Springs. I didn't even get to go because I started yesterday in Flagstaff. But yeah, that's awesome. So I can't watch to wait the video.
Yeah, me neither.
I will hopefully be able to watch that tonight. So I was in Flagstaff because I did a bucket list trip floating down the Colorado River in dories, which is a small wooden boat for 5 that I didn't have to paddle at all. So that was awesome.
Wow.
And then we hiked out of the Grand Canyon, the whole 8.8 miles and 5,100 feet of elevation change or whatever it is on Thursday, and came home yesterday. So it feels good to be home, but the trip was epic and we got so lucky. I think all of our guides had been guiding in the Grand Canyon for over 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so we got insanely lucky. The trip was incredible. And if anybody else is looking to do this, I will totally tell you what company we went through. It was not a cheap trip. It broke my bank for vacations for a year and a half, but
it was worth it.
It was totally worth it. It's a bucket list adventure, and I do not regret it at all. But
that's amazing.
I do think we got so lucky though with just who our guides were. I'm so grateful for that. So, how are you?
Well, I'm glad you're back. I was super happy to get to see you, even if it was very brief. I maybe haven't had the most exciting week, but I did get to go stand-up paddleboarding for the very first time last weekend, which was, I thought, because I am not a very coordinated person, I guess, unless you consider dancing, that's the only thing I'm coordinated in. But any other skill wise, I am not coordinated. So I went into this being I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm just going to be in the water, and that's okay. I had already just released it. Okay, I'm just going to be in the water. I fell in once, and it wasn't even the first time I tried to stand up. It was the end of the day when I saw one of my friends coming down to toward where I was, because she was coming to visit, and she had just gotten there, and I saw her at the very edge of the water, and I was like, oh, I gotta get back, I'm so excited. And then I fell over because I was so excited. But the rest of the day I nailed it.
I feel like we've had a conversation about your confidence levels before.
Yeah, I'm not confident. I mean, I am confident because that's what I'm supposed to be saying. But yeah, I don't have a lot of confidence in those abilities. But I rocked it. I was so good at it.
Well, nice job. That's because you're great.
Thank you. Yeah. So that was super fun. I've also this month has been very just full throttle back into working in my school districts. So it's just felt really busy because I'm back to waking up at 3:30 in the morning and driving for 5 hours a day. But it's been, so it's an adjustment on my part, but also really exciting because I get to see my kids again, and it's been really, really fun. The only other thing significant that happened this last week is that I messed up my SI joint and was in a lot of pain for a while until I realized that I'm a physical therapist and I don't have to be in pain. So I rehabbed myself, and now I'm back and ready for for anything.
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
I'm glad you're feeling better now. And by the way, Flagstaff was the most beautiful I have ever seen Flagstaff.
Oh, it's just gorgeous right now.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You guys must have had just as much rain as we've had.
We've had an amazing monsoon season and everything is just green right now.
Yeah, green, and the wildflowers
They're
all
just
along 89
everywhere.
are ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
so
gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
I was very excited when we drove in there. I was like, holy crap, I've never seen Flagstaff this beautiful. And I was so excited to explore Flagstaff, and then realized that I was going to be in the bottom of the Grand Canyon the whole time.
Yeah.
Which was also beautiful.
Which was, of course, also beautiful.
Right. The water was extremely muddy from all of those monsoons.
Yeah.
like I'm talking like chocolate milk muddy.
Oh gosh.
But that's okay. It was still so much fun.
Oh, I bet. Oh, that's so cool. So Travis, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, if you're unaware, the Olympics happened a couple weeks ago, and I was watching the women's Olympic marathon, and I watched these women who are the most trained for this competition in the world fall back over and over and over throughout the race because they were trying to run someone else's race. So they'd try and stay out with the front runners in the beginning. They'd burn out, and some wouldn't even finish the race because they couldn't keep that pace. And then they just destroyed themselves and had to end their Olympics run without even finishing, which I'm sure was not in anyone's goals.
I'm
entering
sure.
the race.
Heartbreaking.
So then we were hiking out of the Grand Canyon. I mentioned it's a heck of a hike. It's 8.8 miles. It's over 5,000 feet of elevation.
Doozy.
It's a doozy. It is nonstop up. There are no flat spots on the entire hike. So it's a heck of a hike. And I would pass these people and I would watch them just constantly trying to keep up with their friend or trying to go fast. And they would take these constant rest breaks because I know what this feels like. What this feels like is when I try and run up a hill and your heart gets racing so fast that you get out of breath so fast that you have no choice. You have to stop.
Oh yeah, that's like the story of my life with hiking for sure.
But you're so much faster to your goal to the top of the mountain if you keep a steady pace and keep your heart rate at a sustainable level.
Yes.
That you're not taking these constant breaks.
Yes.
So this got me thinking, and I feel like the same thing happens in life. So how many people go to school right after high school, get married right after college, buy a car right after college, then they have children, and then they buy a new house just because this is what society tells you to do. This is what your parents did. This is what your friends are doing. Blah, blah, blah.
It's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, it's what you're supposed to do. So everybody does this. Or not everybody does this, but a lot of people do these things. And then they look back and maybe they say, oh, I shouldn't have bought that brand new car because my car was running just fine. Or they end up divorced or whatever. They become resentful for something. So I have a couple questions to start this episode, Lauren.
Oh, good.
Yeah. First question is, how old were you when you graduated?
I was 27 when I graduated from PT school.
And I was a couple months away from my 30th birthday. And I am sure that every high schooler out there getting ready to go to college is like, I can't wait to graduate at 30. How about when you bought your first house?
I'm still waiting on that. I am currently almost 32 and have not yet bought my first house.
And I was 1 month away from my 32nd birthday. Granted, when I was younger, I said I was never going to buy a house. My dad gives me crap about this all the time. And now I have multiple, but I didn't buy my first house until I was 32, which again, I'm sure most people are not like, I hope I can buy a house by the time I'm 32.
Well, maybe I'm close. I'm almost 32.
You will get there when the right time comes.
Exactly.
How about when you figured out what you want to do with the rest of your life?
I think this is always going to be a work in progress. I think what I want to do is kind of this like ever evolving discovery based on the current season of my life. Definitely not an answer I would have given you when I was like 25 or 27 even. I don't think I have figured out what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Lauren, you're supposed to know that at 18.
Oh,
When you've had no experience in anything.
I'm way behind.
And I'm about to turn 34 in a month, and I'm still not exactly sure. I am getting closer every day. I think I said in our episode with Jesse that I kind of knew at 19 what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I kind of did, but it's totally different because I didn't know that you could use exercise to treat pain at all. And that's one of my favorite things to do. And I never really thought of exercise to be able to do activities of daily living, but that's like my favorite thing. And I don't even think I heard of Parkinson's disease, but I love helping patients with Parkinson's disease. So yeah, it's going to continue to evolve throughout the rest of my life. And by 50, I might not want to do any of the things that I do right now. I don't know.
Totally. Yeah.
We'll see.
It's just, we're ever changing people in an ever changing world. Like, we don't have to only want to do one thing forever.
Right. So because we didn't check off any of these boxes, you've got to be miserable, right?
I'm not miserable at all. I'm like actually really happy.
Yeah, I'm happier than I've ever been. And I'm just living life at my own pace and have my goals. And as long as I keep progressing towards those goals, I'm a happy man. So yeah, you need to run your own race, live your own life. And there is no checklist for a successful life.
I absolutely 100% agree with that. But the question is, how do you do this?
Wait, it's not as easy as I just said.
I don't know. I think I struggle with this all the time. Like, what do you do when you have these consuming thoughts of like, I should be here in life, or I should have done that, or like, I don't know. I have these thoughts all the time. When I was planning my life out at the ripe age of 12, I thought I'd be married with kids at 25, have my own home with like a white picket fence. And I was like 100% sure I would have my whole life together, which is a really funny joke now. Given when I was 12, 25 seemed so far away and so mature. But now at 31 or nearly 32, I've gotten one of those things accomplished. I remember at 27 in particular, when I was about to graduate and get married, I went through a big like existential crisis, if you will, because I was already 2 years older than what I thought I would be when I was supposed to have my life together. And when I'm not in my best mind, I have a really easy time of being mean to myself.
So how do you deal with that?
Exactly. So what did I do at 27 when I was confronting these thoughts? Like, this was, I think, the worst it has ever been. Not to say that it hasn't come back since then, but at 27, it was like, woof. I journaled. I still read that journal entry often, the one that I just like sat down and confronted a lot of these thoughts. And in that journal entry, instead of focusing on comparing my life to others' lives and to what society tells us life should look like, I described my life exactly how it was in exactly every way that I could judge it. But instead of judging it, I painted it for myself in a way that I loved. I consciously spent time appreciating what I had, even if it wasn't what I thought I'd have.
I love that. So I went to a seminar a couple of years ago. I do a lot of self-development seminars, books, all that stuff, because, you know, I like to get better.
Yeah, me too.
So in that seminar, they basically did what you just described. So they said, you know, we would all stand up and talk to the neighbors in the seminar, and you'd say, I chose this because I chose this, or I choose this because I chose this. So at that time, I was dealing with my house in Phoenix. Do you remember my house in Phoenix?
Oh yeah.
It was way too much work.
That's a lot
I
of work.
thought it would be fun when we went into it. It was not fun spending my life like rehabbing this house. It all worked out in the end. But at that time, we were right in the middle of it. We were 3 months into living in that house. And we were working our tails off, painting the whole house, doing some flooring, doing all of this other stuff, working on the water heater, plumbing.
That was a lot.
So I remember distinctly saying, I choose to do this rehab because I chose this house. And I choose to paint these walls because I chose to paint these walls. And it just puts it in context, I think.
Yeah.
And it makes you okay with it. And it's like, this is why I am here. Life is a series of choices. The choices I made got me here. The choices I make from here are going to get me to wherever I'm going to go next. And now I'm in Colorado with more houses that I was working on today in the basement.
Yeah, it's all about like I choose this life. This is the life that I choose. And I love that. Like that gives me goosebumps because I think it's such a big reminder of like, there's a difference between feeling bad when you're comparing yourself to where you're supposed to be or society's expectations and like feeling like you're falling behind. But when you have this base level in your core of being happy with your life and your choices versus like, if you're choosing to live your life for others and you're doing what you're supposed to do, and you end up basically within the confines of this box that you're miserable in. Yeah. I choose this life and it's a life that I'm happy about. I don't care that I'm like behind. I'm maybe my 12-year-old self thought I'd have kids already in a house, and screw my 12-year-old self. I was stupid. I was 12. I'm 30, nearly 32, and I love my life. I love where I'm at. When I sit back and take the time to like look at the choices that I've made to lead myself to where I am in this moment, I love my choices. I love my life. I love the people in my life. I love the things in my life. And sure, I have goals to like keep moving that forward, but like I have this base level of happy.
Yeah, and your goals are your goals, not other people's goals and not other people's expectations of you. So I think chasing other people's dreams, goals, ideals is likely going to lead you to burning out, getting bored, or worse, becoming depressed, anxious, resentful about the life you're living. I've told this podcast and we've talked more extensively, but I'm a little bit rebellious in my past. Maybe still.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, you're total rebel. Maybe still at this time, probably in the future. But when you're rebellious and you choose to, drop out of school and go back to school and move across the country when everybody tells you that it's stupid and all the other things that I've done that people have told me are stupid, I can't be resentful at anybody else. Mm-hmm. Like there's nobody to blame. I chose all of this stuff, which is why I love that choice. So that I choose this because I chose this. Because even if it doesn't work out well, even if I learn that I hate painting houses, which I hate painting houses, I know that I chose to buy those houses. Nobody told me to buy them. Actually, most people told me not to buy the houses. So when I'm doing it, it's my choice. And now I just know that I don't do plumbing work and I don't really paint anymore. So it's good learning lessons, life lessons.
Yeah. I think the moral of the story is appreciate the life you're living. That's how I deal with a lot of this self-doubt and comparison. Like whenever those thoughts creep back up, because they do. I mean, I'm not perfect by any means. I'm always a work in progress. And I literally had these thoughts yesterday. But I've like what grounds me and brings me back to like this joy is I appreciate the life that I live, and taking time to notice that and keep pursuing what you want, knowing that everything changes. The only constant in life is change. Everything's going to change. Everything's going to change in a year. Everything's going to change in a day. Like the timeline of change is rapid, and you can't keep up with that if you're just trying to do what you're supposed to do. Progress is progress, and you're not moving too slow as long as you're headed in the right direction for you.
I love that. Yes. So I think this is a good place to wrap it up. I found this awesome poem. It might just be a paragraph, but I'm going to call it poetry because I think it's so beautiful.
I think it's poetry.
Yeah, that I think we're going to end on. So this is by Emily Marushin, and it's called On Feeling Behind in Life. You're not behind in life. There's no schedule or timetable that we all must follow. It's all made up. Wherever you are right now is exactly where you need to be. 7 billion people can't do everything in the exact same order. We are all different with a variety of needs and goals. Some get married early, some get married late, while others don't get married at all. What is early? What is late? Compared with whom? Compared with what? Some want children, others don't. Some want a career, others enjoy taking care of a house and children. Your life is not on anyone else's schedule. Don't beat yourself up for where you are now. It's your timetable. It's your timeline, not anyone else's, and nothing is off schedule.
I love that. That's so powerful.
Thanks, everybody.
This was fun.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to listen to this episode of the Health and Happiness Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode and are getting benefits from our content.
If your life is improving in part due to the information in this podcast, we would greatly appreciate you sharing the episode with your family and friends on social media and leaving us a review so we can continue to reach more people and improve the health and happiness of the community at large.
Thanks again, and we will see you next week for another episode of the Health and Happiness Podcast.